Today I'm going to share with you my co-angler learned lessons from 2025. I look back on my season, I look back on the tournament videos from the Toyota Series, from the Illini Division BFLs, some other various BFLs, and I broke them down and I thought about it. And I watched some other videos online as well. And I kind of got out of sync with my game last year. I didn't do as well, even though I did win that one tournament. I kind of got lucky. Maybe it was my time. Maybe it was destiny. But I should have done better on the whole year. And I kind of figured out why. And I'm going to share those 4 key lessons with you today here. I think it's going to help your game in 2026 if you're going to be a co-angler. And I think it's going to help my game as well here. And the most important lesson is the last one, is the 4th one. So please stay tuned to that one. I think it'll be well worth your time. Okay, folks. The first thing that happened to me, I got that new co-angler backpack. I had a bag before. The backpack was bigger. I could put more stuff in it. I was putting more stuff in it. I was putting too much stuff in it. I was putting so much stuff in it, I couldn't find it. It's a great backpack, but it won't fit in the back cubby either. So it was kind of in the way for me and the boater here. So as a co-angler, you kind of got to be a little bit of a minimalist here when it comes to all your gear, including your rods. Years before, I would pride myself on taking 4 or 5 rods, 2 spinning, 2 bait casters. I could just, one a medium kind of action, one a medium heavy, maybe a longer one. Maybe it's a little technique specific. But I was up to like 6 rods when I was going to the Toyota Series. They're getting snaggled on each other. I was getting frustrated. There's some tips and tricks with straps to keep them, locked down. If you break off a spinning rod, if you don't do something right away, the line starts getting all over and cut into other things. So you don't want that to happen. You got to take the time to do something. When those rods get broke off, the best thing to do is tie something on, even if you're going to change a bait, unless you're really intense and you're on a bite. I know all the time you think about time matters, but really what matters more is to be organized and is to be thoughtful and prepared. So if you're getting spun out, just sit down, take a deep breath, realize you're doing this for the love of the game, okay, and everything's going to be okay. A couple of more casts, a couple of sloppy casts with the wrong bait are not going to be as good as one cast in the right spot with the right bait. So a couple of things I'm going to do for 2026 here. I've got a smaller backpack bag, and I just went through and I sorted down tackle twice. I'm going to have less stuff. Now, it's going to be a little bit specific for each tournament I go to, but I was basically carrying 6 or 7 3600s plus a bunch of plastic. I am going to get that down to 3 or 4 3600s with a handful of plastics. And I'm going to concentrate on the right plastics as well. So one thing on the gear front, if you're fishing the same lakes and the seasons, you can really plan ahead of time. Maybe you get some information, maybe you get to practice a little bit, maybe you talk with your boater the day before here. Usually they'll help you key in on either what you know or what they're talking about. Now, whatever they say they're doing, okay, doesn't mean that you should be doing the same thing. In fact, you should be doing something a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the smaller backpack set up. I'm going to keep on top of my rods more, and I'm going to really see if I could get it down to either 2 bait casters and 2 spinning rods, or 3 spinning rods and 2 bait casters, because our next lesson is going to be about the way you're fishing. And you should probably be using a spinning rod more than you think, and more finessey presentations as the co-angler. I was that guy a couple of times when I had rods out, they were on the back deck, they weren't put away. I had some tackle out because I just changed. And a lot of times they'll give you a little advance warning like, oh, hey, we're going to go after this cast, or we're going to leave in 5 minutes. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's it, let's go. And he's already strapping his rods down and he's ready to start up the engine and go. You don't got a life jacket on, you got rods all about. I felt bad about that, but it caught up with me a couple of times because I wasn't taking the time to stay organized. And it really helps you up here too, not get spun out, is be in command of the game and have the right etiquette with your boater. The day's gonna go a lot better. Lesson number 2, the art of fishing second. You are not fishing first. Do not cast in front of the boater. Do not get aggressive with casting. It's going to turn out way worse for you. You've got to understand your role on the boat. He's paying the big money. He's paying the big dollars. He's putting the big practice time in here. You're the cleanup guy. So what are you willing to do here? You need to pay close attention to where they're casting. You need to see what baits they have tied on at the beginning of the day here. And unless they start absolute crushing them, which doesn't happen very often at all, or it takes an hour or 2 or 3 to see that that one lure is really the only producer here, you should really be doing something a little bit different. You should be probably fishing a little finessier than he is. This was one of my major mistakes this year. I was off on Fridays, and especially on Lake Shelbyville in those Illini lakes I know very well. I was fishing from the front of the boat. I was power fishing. I was getting bites. I was catching lots of bass. I was catching good-sized bass. But, you know, those big buzz baits, those big jigs, those big worms, you know, most of the time as a co-angler, that's not going to be the baits you want to be throwing here. You want to be throwing some of those smaller baits. You want to be watching exactly where that boater is casting. Maybe he just woke up a fish and he saw his lure, but he didn't bite it. Well, you don't want to throw the same lure at him. He already saw it and he didn't bite it. You know, you want to have something different. You probably want to have something a little finesse here, because if the fish is aggressive, they're going to hit anything the boater throws in front of them to begin with. So, you know, a lot of times in my experience, I went back to my mindset from a couple years ago, and I was more keenly watching that boater. Okay, he's hitting the obvious structure. He's hitting the obvious laydown. He's hitting those obvious rocks where they have a gap or a point here. Look at some other secondary, like look at a couple of little twigs here, or a couple of rocks that kind of come out, but they're below the water line and not obvious. Or, you know, maybe a log you can't see because it's in the water till you got closer and he was already past it. Those are going to be key spots for you. Lesson number 3. We've already kind of hit it. Finesse is your superpower. As a co-angler, you need to get a scoreable bass, okay? It's nice if you get more, but AOI, going to the regionals, at least in the Illini division, if you get a bass in every tournament, you're like in the top 10, maybe top 5, maybe AOI this year. You got to get bites. And you're fishing in front of aggressive boaters. You're fishing waters that aren't great producing here in the Illini division. Even in Lake of Ozarks, there's so much pressure on that lake here. Or early in the season's conditioned. In the first Toyota Plains, we just had ice out. The water was 37 degrees here. I was throwing a tiny finesse jig with a little hint of a little Senko on it. And I caught one. Well, I had one bite the first day. And I probably had a couple nibbles the second day on a Ned rig. But I was fishing more aggressive stuff earlier. I was fishing a bigger jig. I was fishing a smaller size jerkbait, but not a tiny jerkbait. And by the time I pulled out the net and starting getting some nibbles on day two, it was too late to recover. Ned rig, Senko, trick worm, shaky head, co-angler staples for sure. One thing I didn't throw last year that I read up a lot on, and I haven't thrown in a while because they break off, they're kind of pain in the butt, and that's drop shotting, or maybe even power shotting. I think that's something you need to put back into the arsenal. I don't see a lot of even boaters doing that. I saw a few boaters doing it, but I think it's another finesse technique to get that bait a little bit above the bottom. And if you have a smaller bait, well, you can have the net on the bottom, have the Senko that can go on the top to the bottom, and as opposed to pulling through, say, a chatterbait or a small crankbait or a small chatterbait here as a vertical presentation here, you can put a little minnow, little worm on there, little robo worm, little finesse minnow here, and tweak it along the bottom and get some really lifelike action where it's up out of the cover a little bit so they can see it. That's something I'm going to work on next year for sure, and I think you should as well. Okay, the final lesson here is by far the most important. It's not about equipment, it's not about lures, it's not about techniques. It's about what's between your two ears, the mental game. It's the most important game, especially for a co-angler. You're fishing kind of used water. You got to take what the day gives you. Someday the day's not going to give you much at all. Sometimes, usually I won't even catch a keeper till about 10:30 here. So you have to be mentally prepared for that. You have to stay in the game the whole day. You have to have the mind over matter to say, I will catch a fish today if I keep making the right decisions. If I pay attention to what the boater is doing, if I pay attention to the situation on the water, the season of the bass, the mood of the bass, what have I been doing? Is anything working? Is it not working? Are conditions changing or not? Another part of the mental game is the etiquette game with your boater. I see a lot of co-anglers getting mad. They're not giving me any water. He's doing something different than he told me in practice. He's kind of grumpy, doesn't want to net my fish. Well, hey, it's a 50-50 game. Always have a great attitude. Things will always turn out better. It's like paying it forward in life. You know what I mean? I really think that not enough people try and pay it forward. And, most boaters are great guys if you can break it down and just talk to them. Ask them about their day or life. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they had a bad work week. Maybe they're having a bad tournament season here. And it's not because of you. So, don't take it personally. Being a good co-angler is 50% skills and 50% being a good boat partner. So that's another aspect on it. You help your boater out, he's going to help you out. You show that you're there to make sure he has a good day. He's going to make sure you have a good day. Be ready to get the net. So even ask ahead of time. I've had some boaters saying, hey, I want the net into the water. No, I want it out of the water. I'll call for the net. I won't call for the net. Know where the net is. Always be ready. In fact, ask them up front, how you want to do that. Pay your gas money up front. Don't make it conditional on what the day is going to be here. Okay, that's going to put everybody at ease mentally and kind of zero you guys in together as a team, because you really are a team. You're not fishing each other. You're partners for the day here. So treat it like that. Okay, guys, let's recap what we learned today. First, become a minimalist. It will be better for your mindset, not having too many things to pull out of your bag, or you can't find stuff, or you're worried about the exact right color. I have a watercolor, a natural bait and a dark bait for cleaner water and dirtier water here. Just bring some smaller size baits. The boater's going to have a lot of baits. If he's catching stuff most of the time, he's going to toss you, something if you need it as well too here. You gotta master the art of fishing second. You're not the boater. This is the one that I think hurt me a lot this year, and I'm gonna reconcentrate on. Slow down, watch happening. Throw something different than the boater. Fish a different water column here until you figure something out. I've had days where I've caught them all differently than the boater. Sometimes, very rarely are we only catching them on one thing, and it's that same thing the boater is catching them on here. A lot of times, I've outfished the boater and he's downsized to finesse here. So that ought to tell you something. Remember that finesse is your superpower. There's a lot of pre-tournament practice. There's a lot of boats out on tournament days. If you're in multi-day tournaments, the pressure is intense on those fish and they just kind of back off and don't get as aggressive unless you've found some way out of the way place that no one knows about here. As the tournament goes on, even the boater is going to have to pull back a little bit. And fourth, and the most important, the mental game. Have a good positive attitude no matter what. Know that you're ready and have the skills to catch fish, and if you don't, go practice some more. Watch some more videos. Get some more experience. If 2026 is going to be your first year, it's going to be a tough year, but it's going to be the biggest learning year of your life. I've been co-angling for 5 years now. Every year I go, God, I learned a lot. Maybe I should move up to the front of the boat. And I think about it and I go, oh, I'm going to get my butt kicked. These guys have been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years already. And I still learn more from the back of the boat every year. So I'm going to do both this year. So hopefully this video can help you out as much as it's going to help me out for thinking about a different mindset for 2026. That's going to get me closer to the goal of being the AOY in the Illini division. And hopefully puts more fish in a boat for you and maybe your AOY for next year as well.